Okay, panel members, we can turn on our videos, microphones. Please mute your laptops. YouTube is live. We'll unmute our room. Okay, and we're ready to go.
Bear with me, I've just got to find my document. Okay, and here we go. Good afternoon. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990, as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. My name is Zahir Bryant, and I will be chairing today's session. Panel members today are Ian Chan, Larry Clay, and Peter Reid. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid, in-person, and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with a computer or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Board, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed the rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons, and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Today I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance to the hearing staff and committee members. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Then, individuals, either in support or opposed to the application, will be invited to speak. Generally, we first call on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers have finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. Are there any declarations of interest from staff or participants? No, none, seeing none. That's great, thank you. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there any deferral requests for this afternoon?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and panel members. Yes, there is one request at this time. Item number 19, 11 Oswald Crescent. It's the consent and minor variance applications. There's also a deferral request for item number 32, but we cannot deal with that until after 3 o'clock.
Perfect,
Okay.
thank you.
So perhaps we can read in item number 19. We do have the agent online, and we have a number of registered speakers here in person, as well as a couple online.
Thank you. Bear with me while I just locate. Okay, Mr. Benkowski, are you there?
Through you, Mr. Chair, do you want to just read in even just the purpose of
Oh,
applications?
I beg your pardon,
Yeah.
if that's what I didn't do. Didn't read the application. Thank you. So 19 A, B, and C, 11 Oswald Crescent. The consent requested to obtain consent to sever the lot into 2 undersized residential lots. Purpose of the application, Part 1, to construct a new 3-story detached dwelling with a front integral garage, covered front porch with stairs, and a rear basement walkout. There will be 2 residential dwelling units on this lot. The existing rear 1-story ancillary building, the detached garage, will be demolished. Purpose of the application for Part 2, to construct a new 3-story detached dwelling with a front covered integral garage, a front covered porch with stairs, and a rear basement walkout. There will be 2 residential dwelling units on this lot. The existing rear 1-story ancillary building, detached garage, will be demolished. The committee had before it the following communication: copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, copy of draft revised plan of survey, revised zoning waivers received from the agent on February the 4th, 2024, and a covering letter from the agent received on October the 3rd, 2024. We also have email correspondence from the agent received February 4th, 2024, an arborist report received on October the 3rd, 2024, and presentation materials from Jonathan Benkowski, the agent, on February 19th, 2025. We also have email correspondence from the Assistant Planner Community Planning, dated January the 2nd, 2025. In addition, we also have staff reports from Engineering Department, dated January 14th, 2025, and Urban Forestry report dated February 20th, 2025. We also have correspondence in opposition from 18 Oswald Crescent, February 18th, 2025, 7 Oswald Crescent, February 18th, 2025, 5 Oswald Crescent, February 18th, 2025, 13 Oswald Crescent, February 18th, 2025, 8 Oswald Crescent, February 18th, 2025, 22 Oswald Crescent, February 19th, 2025, 27 Oswald Crescent, February 19th, 2025, and finally 27 Wilfred Avenue, February 2025. I believe that might be all.
Through you, Mr. Chair, at this time, we'll unmute the agent.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, committee. Jonathan Miskowski, 301 Keewatin Avenue.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Benkowski. How are you doing? Mr. Benkowski, are you there?
No, our room is unmuted. You have to unmute the room.
I'm not able to hear the chair.
Okay, can you hear us now, Jonathan?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer.
Hi, wonderful. As you likely recognize, we do have a lot of folks in opposition, and you also have a deferral request.
Correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Madam Deputy Secretary, do we
Through
need
you,
a
Mr. Chair,
presentation?
can Jonathan just walk through the request for deferral? Because there are people here in person.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mr. Chair, the original zoning notice identified a proposed lot frontage of 7.62 meters. In reviewing the zoning notice as well as the public notice, I noticed a couple of errors. One being the request for an FSI would not be applicable because it is a multiplex. When we went back to the zoning examiner on February 24th, we received a new zoning notice where the lot frontage has now been identified as 7.32 meters. So nonetheless, we can't really proceed again as the zoning notice we see here, which is the February 24th, has been reduced to 7.32, whereas the public notice was at 7.62 meters.
So we need an update then, presumably a new notice forwarded to the appropriate folks.
Correct, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So we're looking at a deferral. We have a number of folks in the audience, and maybe I'll address them all initially as a collective and then individually, if I may. This is a deferral request from the agent, and the deferral request, as far as people in opposition is concerned, is we require a very simple response to a very simple question. Are you in agreement with the request for a deferral? And the answer is either yes or no. I thank all of you for being here. I haven't seen a packed house like this in a long time, so I'm glad that all of you have come. I am sorry that you are here and won't be able to make your case because there is a request for a deferral. So we're at the stage where I would like each of you to come up in turn and please answer the question, are you in favor of deferral or not, yes or no? Okay. Why don't you, when you pop up at the...
And then you can
that'll
ask the
make it
question.
easier.
One at a time, please.
Alphabetical order.
And when you
Just
come up,
one at a time.
just state your name and your address and then a response to the question.
Yep.
Yes, please,
Right to the
please.
podium.
Okay. Derek Fidani, 16.
We need to record you.
Sure. Derek Fidani, 16 Oswald Crescent. We are the property directly facing this property across the street. I do not support the deferral. I don't believe that there is any material change that will be made to the application. I'd submitted a letter too.
Thank you. And at this point, all we want is I support it or not.
Okay, I don't support it.
I understand you have a lot on your mind
Yeah.
that you'd like to express, but unfortunately, we're not able to entertain this at this
Okay.
point in time. Sorry.
Mr. Chair, for this, it's not just about the bill request to work things out. This one is almost necessary because they cannot.
Incorrect.
increase the-
Yeah, incorrect information. Thank you for that. It's not just that the agent has decided this is a great way to deflect the application, if you like, for lack of a better description. There is a technical issue that needs, just automatically requires a deferral
I
for
understand-
correction in
I
the
understand,
information.
But I don't think it changes the fact that they want to sever the lots. The lots are too small to do that. The integral garages won't go away. The tree that's
I
out
understand.
front is going to get destroyed, you know?
I understand all of
yeah.
that, and, and hopefully, when this application comes back up before us, you'd be able to express all the concerns that you have.
Okay.
Thank you
Right.
so much for being here. And I do apologize for you having to be here, and then you have this, thank you, but goodbye.
Next person.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Sylvia Bashevkin. I live at 5 Oswald Crescent.
Thank you.
I oppose
Thank you.
I oppose the request for a deferral. I think the severance of the lot and the fact that I believe that this committee has received 10 letters of objection from a very short street to the idea of building 2 3-story buildings with 4 units in total
I
on
do
what is a very small
apologize.
lot.
I do apologize for interrupting you, but we do need to get through this process of the yes or no.
I understand.
And I've
And
got,
I oppose the deferral,
thank you.
and I thank you for listening to us as neighbors. Thank you.
I would encourage all of you to make sure that you follow up when the next occasion arises.
Keith Aldridge.
Good afternoon.
Keith Aldridge, number 7, Oswald Crescent. I oppose.
Thank you so very much.
Afternoon,
Good
Michael
afternoon.
Pate, 13 Oswald Crescent. Just a question, what's the point of us opposing the deferral if you've already made up your mind that we won't be able to hear anything today? So,
Well, we
sounds like
haven't
my
made,
proposal is irrelevant, yeah?
we haven't made up our minds.
Okay, I oppose the deferral.
Thank you.
Next person.
My name is Michael Tice, 8 Oswald Crescent, and I also oppose.
Thank you very kindly.
Matthew Arnold, 22 Oswald Crescent. I oppose.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else? See none?
Thank you. Mr. Benkowski, we're going to be taking this into committee to, for Ms. Benkowski. Mr. Benkowski, I've got one question from Ms. Chan for you.
Yes, you said that the fundage is being, it was a mistake and now.
I can't hear, through you, Mr. Chair, I can't hear Ms.
Oh,
Chan.
sorry, yeah, I haven't, okay, you mentioned that the fundage is incorrect, so you're going to correct that, but I just want to ask whether it will affect your lot area.
It has actually increased by 0.1 square meter. The lot area invariably increased on the revised notice that we obtained yesterday.
Okay, thank you, so those figures also will be revised, right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Mr. Clay has a question for
Mr.
Ms.
Benkowski, so you've, obviously, there's an awful lot of concern along the street. Have you or your client had any discussions with the neighbors on this application?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Clay, last Friday, I dropped off letters to the individuals who had written letters of objections. I received a call from one individual yesterday. Other than that, I haven't heard from any of the other. I believe I dropped off seven or 8 letters, just explaining a little bit about the proposal, as well as asking them to contact me. And I only heard from one individual.
Okay, then you know how this works, right? Either you or your client may be well advised to have some discussions with the neighbors before you bring this one back?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, again, Mr. Clay, we've also made 2 other revisions in terms of eliminating the depth variance as well as the FSI variance. I did indicate that in my letter to the neighbors, hoping to engage in some dialogue. I'm happy to engage in dialogue. They have my contact info from the letter I've dropped off.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very kindly. Okay, we can take this into committee.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to refer?
Yeah, of course, the opposition is all opposed to deferral, but on the other hand, if we're going to hear it, with what is written down, they have to come back again anyway, because they cannot take those variances wrong. They have to come back with the new,
Automatic.
yeah. What I mean is if we take the opposition's view to oppose the deferral and go ahead and hear it today, this is not correct.
The application is
Incorrect
inaccurate, so
information.
we cannot deal
Yeah.
with it today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you face it better than me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like to turn that into a motion, Ms. Chan?
Yeah, so I have a motion to defer this so that the correct information will be presented, and also really encourage the applicant have a dialogue and maybe even in-person meeting with the neighbors
Thank
before
you.
they come back next time.
I'll second that, Chair. I would also, that's one side, I would also encourage the residents to reach out and have a discussion with the agent and make sure you share your views with the agent and the applicant.
Yes.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor, seconded by Mr. Clay. All those in favor? Thank you. The application has been deferred, Mr. Benkowski. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, seeing that it's after 3 o'clock, we can probably deal with the other deferral request. It's item number 32, and it's 223 Sorin Avenue, file number A0025/25TEY. We do have the owner on the line.
Yeah,
Bear with me, I'm just gonna-
yeah, they unmuted you. Hello?
Hi, we're
Hi,
just gonna
one
get
moment,
you,
please.
the chair's just gonna read the application into record, and then we'll hear from you, okay?
Okay, this is item number 32, 223 Sororan Avenue. Purpose of the application to alter the existing apartment building, 1 and 2 stories, by converting the attached 3-car garage into 1 residential dwelling unit. Also to construct a 2-story addition above the portion of the attached garage. The existing uncovered 2nd and 3rd story terrace and basement walkout will be maintained and unaltered. There will be a total of 12 residential units on this lot. The committee had before it the following communication: copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. 2 photographs of the subject property received January the 10th, 2025. A covering letter from the agent dated February 19th, 2025. Agency reports from Transportation dated February 6, 2025. Staff report from Metrolinx dated February 19, 2025. We correspondence in support from 52 Wright Avenue received February 5th, 2025. Opposition correspondence from 223 Sororan Avenue, Unit 1, received February the 18th, 2025. And 221 Sororan Avenue received February 18th, 2025. And I believe that's it.
Okay, so through you, Mr. Chair, we can hear from the owner as to the request for deferral.
Yes, hi. I hired someone to represent me at this meeting today, but he backed out yesterday.
Oh, no.
Sorry, can you state your first and last name?
Thank you.
Louis Orique, regarding 223 Sororan Avenue. I am the owner of the building. And I'm here with my wife, Lauren.
So you're requesting a deferral so that you can obtain a new agent to speak on behalf of you?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Bear with me one moment. I'm just making a few notes. Okay. Thank you. Terrific. Do we have anybody in opposition to this?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, there's no
None.
speakers for this one.
Okay. So we can take this straight into committee and
Yes.
move towards a vote, a motion. Motion, Mr. Reed, thank you.
Thanks,
Number
Chair.
32.
I would just like to recommend that there were some communications from existing tenants in the building, in the front part of the building, that raised some concerns, and just when the owner comes back, I hope that they would have some response to those concerns that were raised. Anyway, so that being said, I move deferral to allow the owner time to secure a new agent.
Thank you. Second, Ms. Chan, thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. You have your deferral.
Through you, Mr. Chair, then we can just go back to item number 20 and proceed with that first item.
Okay. Item number 20. There you go. Item number 20. Bear with me while I read this into record. Item number 20, A, B, C, D, 828 Shore Street. The consent requested to obtain consent to sever the property into 3 residential lots and to create, maintain easement rights of way. Purpose of the application for Lot 1, to construct a new 4-story apartment building with a total of 12 residential dwelling units on lots 1, 2, and 3. This lot, Lot 1, will contain a 4-plex with a covered front porch with stairs, a rear sunken patio, and a rear exterior staircase which will lead to each dwelling unit. There will be a total of 4 residential dwelling units on this lot. Purpose of the application for Lot 2, to construct a new 4-story apartment building with a total of 12 residential dwelling units on lots 1, 2, and 3. This lot, Lot 2, will contain a 4-plex with a covered front porch with stairs, a rear sunken patio, and a rear exterior staircase which will lead to each dwelling unit. There will be a total of 4 residential dwelling units on this lot. Purpose of the application, Lot 3, to construct a new 4-story apartment building with a total of 12 residential dwelling units on lots 1, 2, and 3. This lot, Lot 3, will contain a 4-plex with a covered front porch with stairs, a rear sunken patio, and a rear exterior staircase which will lead to each dwelling unit. There will be a total of 4 residential dwelling units on this lot. The committee had before it the following communication. Copy of draft revised plan of survey, revised draft plan of survey received February 14, 2025. Copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. 3 photographs of the subject property received November 7, 2024. Covering letter from the agent received December 17, 2024. Planning rationale received February 23rd, 2025. Presentation materials received February 23rd, 2025. Staff reports received were from engineering, received on January 14th, 2025, and from urban forestry, February 20th, 2025. In opposition, we had correspondence from 18 Oswald Crescent, received February 18, 2025. 7 Oswald Crescent, received February 18th, 2025. 5 Oswald Crescent, received February 18th, 2025. Am I reading the wrong one? Oh my goodness, that was number 20?
They're all the same, could we just say ditto, or?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, with these, I think you can. Am I missing something here?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we
Thank
do have
you.
the agent here in person,
Thank you.
and we do have 3 registered speakers in opposition here in person and 1 person online.
Thank you. I think we might need a presentation since we have folks in opposition.
Of
Please.
course, Mr.
5
Chair.
minutes. Thank you.
Name and address, sir?
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
thank you, staff, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Christian Chan. I'm a registered professional planner with the Planning Agency, Inc., and my address is Suite 138, 157 Adelaide Street, West Toronto, Ontario. And if I can ask for a little bit of an indulgence, I am dealing with 3 committee minor variance applications and 1 consent, so I might go a bit over time. I do have a presentation prepared for you today as well, if I can ask staff to kindly put that up on the screen. So the proposal is for what I consider as a rowplex, and it's an interesting concept because the rowplex as a building type was something that was actually permitted in the former City of Toronto Bylaw 4386 that has not been carried over into Bylaw 569 2013. So this is a development that's reflective of that. Also, interestingly, this is a unique site because there was a former building on this site that burned down in 2022. There were 17 units on the site. It was a 3-story building, and now the site is vacant. So the proposal is for a series of 3 fourplexes constituting 12 units, each unit being about 95 meters square or 1,025 square feet, in an attached row of fourplexes. And we have had many discussions with urban planning with city planning on this. In fact, we went in first with a proposal for a 27-unit, 4-story building, and through continued discussions with urban planning and urban design staff, has resulted in the current application before you today as a replacement building for the building that was burned down. If I can ask staff please to go to the next slide. So here we have an aerial images. It's a little bit small on your screen, but you can see the former built form that occurred on the site and evidence clearly that it burned down in 2022. Since there was no information available at the time about the building footprint and the built form, I went to building archives and sought a former survey of the property, and also there was one dimensioned height elevation in order to ascertain and inform the current development proposed before you today. And if you could go to the next page, please. So with that information that was available, I created this model in order to do a baseline comparison for what was proposed. In fact, this model was created before we even developed the plans for the Roplex. And also site photos from historical photos from Google Street View. There's a very small south side yard of 0.28 meters, a very small front yard setback of 0.1 to 0.48 meters. And the areas surrounding the site on Leeds and Shaw are fully paved with, I think, what we can see as permeable pavers. And through this application, should it be approved, we're proposing to improve all the city boulevards to soft landscaping, as I'll further discuss when I'm discussing the variances. If you could go to the next page, please. So in terms of the plan context, it's in neighborhoods, it's zoned R, 0.6 density. It is within the Ossington MTSA, as well as just bordering on the Christie MTSA, and close by to higher order transit corridors and enhanced surface transit network. And I'll go into that further detail when I'm discussing the parking variances. Next page, please. So here's axonometric views of the front and rear of the building, and also a rendering that was produced by the applicants through their designers to show what it would look like in its context there. Again, each of these Roplex parts will be about 381 meters square, each unit being about 95 meters square, 1,025 square feet. The way that this building was designed was with the EHON goals and vision in mind, as well as looking at the multiplex bylaw in order to have a built form, although we're seeking a reduced front yard setback, to have still the 17-meter length that is stated in the regulations for multiplex development, as well as above a certain point for main wall heights to have an angled roof, both in the front and the rear, to reduce the impact of what we're requesting for the increase in height, which is 0.48 above the permitted maximum, or about 4.4% if you want to look at it numerically. I'll just go quickly into the consent applications. If you can go into the next slide, please. I do realize I definitely will go over time. So this is a baseline comparison that I produced using the original scaled model with what was produced by the architects in comparison of the old building to what is proposed before you today. So we can see here that we do have increased rear yard setbacks, obviously addressing and limiting impacts arising out of the increased height. This is a threefold increase in the existing rear yard setback from about 2.3 meters to 6.48. And if I can ask you to go to the next page, the next slide, sorry. So these are the table that you may have reviewed. That's the baseline comparison before from the old building to what's being proposed before you today. It'll take me some time to go through all those details, so I won't do it. The consent application is to subdivide the lot, to sever the lot into 3 lots, lot 1, 2, 3, part 1 and part 2 being the southerly lot. The part 1 lot is an easement for access to the rear exit of the middle lot. Lot 2, as you can see there, and on lot 3, there is, which is known as part 4 and 5, there is an existing part 5 easement that is desired to be maintained. Transportation Services requested that to be converted to soft landscaping. However, in discussions with the neighbor to the north, that's an easement access to allow for vehicular parking, as you may see on some of the site photos that I've submitted. Now going into the variances, sir. Oh, sorry, I do have another slide. In talking, to speak to the consent, we can see here, it's quite clear that about 45% of the existing lots on Shaw Street have an existing lot frontage that's Consistent with what's being proposed for Lot 1 and 2, those being the 5.6 meter lots, those are shown on green on the map before you. And also the rest of the lots that are 5.6 meters, 6.8 meters, or 116 lots are about 48%. So the lot configuration and size is consistent with the prevailing lot size and character subject to the 4.1.5 OP test.
Sorry to interrupt, but maybe start wrapping up, please, if you can, Mr. Chen. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Just going into the variances,
Sure.
so if I go to the next slide. Or the next, there, okay, so this is regarding variance 1, the height variance, so we're seeking a variance of 0.48 meters above the required maximum, or the permitted maximum, about 4.4%. If I could go to the next slide, the front yard setback. So we're proposing a doubling of the existing, that's the density. So the density that's being proposed over what was previously there is 0.28 more. The previous density was 2.31, so an increase of about 123.92 square meters. The next slide, please. So regarding the front yard setback, we're proposing a doubling of the pre-existing front yard setback that ranged from 0.1 to 0.47 to 1 meter. The next slide, please. For the rear yard setback, it's a rear yard setback at 6.38 meters, and if you analyze the map before you, there's the blue dashed line that indicates the character of the rear yard, the rear main walls of all the buildings, which the proposal aligns with. And the next slide, please. With regards to the south side yard setback, this is a corner lot. In analyzing all the corner lots in the neighborhood to city mapping, it's quite clear that the character of the corner lots in the immediate context as well as in the geographic neighborhood have an at or near 0 meter south side yard setback. And also this is in recognition that there's quite a 5-meter wide city boulevard adjacent to the site. That's going to be improved. With regards to landscaping, the next slide, please. The previous building at 23%, the proposed Roplex proposes 30% improvements to the rear yard soft landscaping, also a degree of front yard soft landscaping on the front. And the next slide, please. This is also encapsulated in this slide where there is still a 33% of a overall site landscaping, soft landscaping proposed, which will be improved also with the boulevard landscaping. And the next slide, please, with regards to the landscape strips. The previous development had no 1.5 meter landscape strips, and the new one also proposes the same condition. Also, the intent of the 1.5 meter soft landscaping strip for apartment buildings is in regards to buffering a higher order of development in apartment buildings in R zones, and in this case, what we're proposing is substantially in line with what was there before. For variances 10 and 11 with a front porch canopy and stair encroachment, and then, sorry for that, I'm going a bit over time here, there's many variances.
I wonder if you might just hold it at that point, and perhaps some of the additional comments you want to still make on various variances will come through. In addition, I think our colleagues have had a look at all the variances, so I think you're in good shape there.
Okay. Chair, just a quick question. I know we got speakers lined up, and and I don't have an opinion on this, but you've split a lot into 3 and had 4-plex, as opposed to keeping it as one and having an apartment complex. I'm just curious what the rationale for that is.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you for the question, Mr. Clay. The rationale for splitting the lot into 3 is for municipal addressing purposes as well as for servicing purposes as well. So in having each of these properties individually serviced, they can be individually metered, and this is a rental property, so then each of these units can be appropriately serviced and apportioned in terms of their city servicing from Toronto Water. And items like that. We do not require variances for frontage because the minimum lot frontage in this area is 6 meters. However, in discussions with zoning examination staff, it was not required to have variances for the frontage of the properties because it is considered as one building on all the properties.
Okay, I didn't understand what the rationale was. So you couldn't do the servicing if it was an apartment complex?
It could have been done, but it is more efficient in this manner to proceed with the time and the expense, of course, and to try to get through the consent process in order to do it in that fashion rather than the alternative.
Any other questions at this point, or do you want to wait? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chan. We'll just move on to the folks in opposition.
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair, we do have some people here in person, so I just ask that you come up one at a time.
Good afternoon. I wonder if you could just state your name and address, please.
Yeah, my name is Olga Plajanakos, and I live at 821 and a half Shaw Street. So I've been living at this property for over 60 years, so I was born there. To correct the previous gentleman, it was only a 3-story building, 2 above and 1 below. It was never a 4-story building, ever. So that's one thing for variance number 1. I don't want it to be a 4-story building at all. The kind of shade that's going to be on the property is going to be incredible on the east, for all of us on the east side, to the point where we're going to be living in shadow. The gentleman earlier said something about variance number 2 that was 123 square meters, but on paper it's 264 square meters. So I'd like that to be corrected from what he said earlier. All of these variances are excessive, to the point where there are reasons why there are rules in place in the first place. Okay, so for them to ask this many is just ridiculous. The one that so all of them are crazy. The one that's more so is the one that's you want to increase the actual building itself, east and south. We don't even have a stop sign on the corner of Leeds and Shaw. And really, the reason why there was that scape, the cement grounding on the front of the building and the side, is so that way when cars turned south and went west on Leeds Street, on Leeds Street, that it was so that it was visible. By building a building right to the edge of the sidewalk line and both east and west and south means that the visibility for pedestrians is going to be minimal at best, because then now you're just asking for accidents to happen moving forward. To have no greenscape at all is ridiculous as well, especially nowadays when we're living in a concrete jungle. We want to have the green space available. The fact that there's no accessible parking, there's no short-term, long-term bicycle parking at all as well, is also shameful. The city's been spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for bike lanes to be throughout the whole city, and now this building, because they want to maximize building space as opposed to living space, these plans need to be revisited. Because with no parking space, and there used to be 2 parking spots that this building used to have, and now with no parking space, it means that all the building residents are going to be forced to rent parking on the street, and even then it's limited, because we're now struggling to even find parking space on our own streets. But again, this 4-story building, we never had it before, and again, I've been living there for 60 years, so it was only 2. You walked into the main part of the building, you took 3 steps to go down, and that was the basement level of sorts, and then you took 3 steps up to go to the first floor, and then you took the staircase to go all the way up to the second floor. It was never a 4-story building. I realize and I acknowledge that the city needs rental properties, for sure, but not at the expense of our residential area as well. Yes, we're accessible to the Ossington and the Christie subway stops, and perhaps you're hoping that the people that rent these properties are going to be using TTC only, but that is also unrealistic. And for you to not factor in parking on this site for a multiplex like this, for having possibly 10, 15, or 20 families living here, is unacceptable. That's it right now. Like, it's just, the number of variances are just excessive. The fact that you want to build a bigger building on this property is ridiculous. I would support that same model that was before that you mentioned, like, why bother severing? Why not have a regular apartment building? And that is what the city really truly needs. Not these little, I guess, in residential properties that only certain families can live in. We need more residential rental properties for our, like, one or two bedrooms, and that is it, not these multiplex gargantuans. So 4-story, please do not allow this to happen. This is not what this area needs. This is not what our.
You're almost out of time.
I'm
gonna
fine,
look it up.
thank you.
Thank you so kindly. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Name and address, please.
Okay, my name is Ian Hamilton. My address is 823 Shaw Street, so I'm just across from the proposed building.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. You have 5 minutes.
I have like very serious concerns along the lines of those mentioned by the previous speaker. There's not enough green space, and the building is too big and in particular too tall. They can say it's just like less than a meter higher than the highest amount allowed, but it should respect that highest amount. It should not be even a centimeter higher. So that's my first point. It's too high, and there's not enough green space, and that has a direct effect on us because of point 3. This is under the requested environment variances. The minimum required front yard setback is 2.4 meters. The new building will be located 1 meter from the front, east side of the lot. So this building will be just 1 meter away from Shaw Street. It will be much taller than the old building. It will be overwhelming. We won't get any afternoon sun. So it just should not be allowed to be that intrusive. It's just too tall, too close to Shaw Street, and just not in fitting with the neighborhood. It's much taller than the apartment building that burnt down. So we of course, are happy that the old apartment building will be replaced, but this is the wrong multiplex to replace it with. It should just be replaced by a regular apartment building. There are many examples of that in Toronto, and it should be the same height roughly that the previous one was. So just a regular 3-story apartment building set at least 2.4 meters back from Shaw Street. So not obstructive, not blocking the sun, and just permitting those of us on the other side of Shaw Street to enjoy the environment that we moved to and that we've contributed to. I know I have plenty of time left, but I've actually said what I wanted to say, so I'll just stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Let me just see if any colleagues have any questions for you. None? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton.
Next speaker.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello. My name is Jan Drews. My husband, Michael Drews, and I live at 848 Shaw Street. That's about 6 houses north of the new building site. And while I was excited to see that after so many years that lot would be cleaned up and be developed, I've learned a little bit more than the letters that you sent out here. The owners of the property did come door to door asking for support, and I did give them my support, they gave me answers to questions, especially about green space, which do not appear to be the same as what's written up with the variances here. So I'm a little dismayed about the honesty there. Like the others have said, my concern is the green space. The thought of a building right up next to Leeds and Shaw is too dangerous. We couldn't even make our front porch a little larger because we were told there was a line. The city did not allow you to go beyond that line, but this is a whole building coming all the way out to Shaw Street, which doesn't seem quite very safe and healthy for the neighborhood. Again, like Olga said, parking is, I guess, unless, I don't know if they plan to rent only to people without cars and bikes, because the Shaw Street is one of the busiest bicycle avenues, I think, around. And my husband enjoys counting how many bikes go up and down a minute. And I can't imagine that many people will live in that building and there's no place for bicycles and parking, etc. And also with cars, that there will be no parking for cars, which will make it more difficult on the street and safe. The height too, I'm opposed to 4 stories. I liked the size of the other building. And as some of the neighbors who watched the other building burn down, I would not want it that building was too close to the people that live next door to it, and how it never spread beyond and up the block is a miracle. And the other issue I have is green space, like they said, and accessibility. If there's multiple floors, I don't see anything that talks, or even getting into the apartment, that there's all stairways, and it doesn't speak well for accessibility. And finally, I'll be quiet, this neighborhood is good for families and for children, and we've got 2 schools, more than 2, but schools right there within blocks of this area. And I can't picture that this new building is that family friendly. I agree with, it'd be better to have more space for families than to have more spaces to rent. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Do we have any other speakers or?
Any other speakers here in person? See none. At this time, we'll unmute the owner at 5 Lead Street, Joanne Lamb.
Good afternoon, Ms. Lamb. Can you hear me? Ms. Lamb, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. We've got you as a person in interest. Would you like to address the committee for at least 5 minutes?
Sure. So my name is Joanne Lamb. I'm a neighbor down the street at 5 Lead Street. I am certainly one of the neighbors who watched the previous building burnt down. For the most part, I support this application. However, I do echo some of the comments that the previous neighbors have made. So 2 issues. First one is certainly the landscaping issue, especially on the Lead Street side. I'm hoping the committee members would be able to look into it a little bit closer. It's a tall building, tall-ish building relative to what is currently existing, and that facade has a few punch windows, but it's still a relatively blank facade along Lead Street. And if you look at the floor plans, there's actually a whole bunch of bedrooms that are facing onto that street. So I think that facade can be animated a bit further, hopefully with landscaping. I'm encouraged to see that the applicant talked a little bit about some sort of landscaping, although I would love to hear quite a bit more. The renderings currently doesn't show the slope that happens from Shaw as it turns into Leeds. It looks like it's sitting on a flat piece of land, but it's not. So there is some. It's not clear to me whether the units in the basement will actually have full windows facing onto Lead Street, or how that side will be treated. So I think that side needs a bit more attention. And the second issue is bike parking. As one of the other neighbors say, Shaw Street, it's like a highway for bikes. So to ask for a variance to have no bike parking, in my opinion, is not acceptable. I think whoever lives there should have access to have secure overnight parking and not just a rack tossed on the front yard and have a whole bunch of bikes locked to it. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Is that, do we have any more? Or,
Through you, Mr. Chair. No, no other speakers, so we can bring back the
Mr.
agenda.
Chan, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chan. If you could address all the concerns that have been expressed here and from Ms. Lam.
I thank the interested parties for their comments, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing that I may address some of these variances through the response. Wrote down a list of some of the concerns here too. I do also want to point out that we do have a letter of firm support from the neighboring owners to the north, and also a number of petition and support signed by a number of residents both on Leeds and Shaw Street as well as part of the file documents. So just wanted to highlight that as well. In speaking to the concern regarding height, the R-zone provisions do not limit the number of stories for a building. So even within the permitted height maximum of 11 meters, a 4-story building could be proposed and approved as of right. Also, the multiplex bylaw, to which this proposal heavily considered, there's a 4-story height permission for all multiplexes, even if there were a story limitation on the property, as you may have experienced in other multiplex files in other zones. With regarding to shadowing on the east side, I can definitely understand the concern because the building is still proposed close up to the front east lot line. I did measure the right-of-way while the interested neighbor made their comments, and the right-of-way width for Shaw Street at the point from property line to property line east to west is a 20-meter right-of-way. So it's a rather wide right-of-way for a local street. There are some major streets that are 20-meter right-of-ways. This is obviously to account for transportation amenities such as street parking and bike routes, which I'll also weave into this discussion later. But even when we're considering a 20-meter right-of-way on Shaw Street with 11.48 meter building, we have a height of a building, even though it's close up to the front lot line, that's still half just over half of the 1-to-1 ratio of the height of the building to a right-of-way width. And as we know, and as you may know from your minor variance files that are with respect to mid-rise buildings, the 1-to-1 ratio of a building height to the right-of-way is a standard in which we gauge whether the building is too high, whether there's going to be shadowing on the public realm and on the opposite side of the street properties. In this case, as I had mentioned before, we're just over half of the 1-to-1 ratio, so we're about at a 0.6 to 1. So in my opinion, I respectfully submit to the committee that there won't be those shadowing impacts to the properties on the east side, because just by the very nature of that gauge of the ratio that is used on, that is typically used in assessing planning applications from an urban design perspective. With regards to many variances, yes, this is something that has popped up on a number of files before you, in fact, and some of them that I've brought to you before too, is that when we have a series of semi-detached triplexes or fourplexes, or in this case, a fourplex rowplex, the apartment building's classification comes up from the zoning examiner through a directive issued by City Planning in November 2024 to view these types of triplexes and fourplexes that are attached, whether it's a semi-detached or rowplex, as apartment buildings, and therefore we received a set of variances that are pursuant to the apartment buildings regulations in the R zone. In this case, we did discuss this with the zoning examiner about the number of variances. Of course, even if this would be considered a multiplex, the density variance wouldn't come up. We would still have a rear yard setback variance, we would still have a front yard setback variance, we would still have a south side yard setback variance, but otherwise the building would and the height variance, but otherwise the building would be compliant. East and south setbacks. So yes, the setbacks towards the corner in one aspect on the east side is being increased to 1 meters from what was previously there as 0.10 to 0.48. And yes, the south setback is being reduced from what was there before as a 0.28 to 0 meters. This does affect the corner, but in a way that the massing, I believe, and I would submit to you, is consistent with what was there before. A typical corner rounding in the city of Toronto for a local street is a 6-meter corner rounding. In this case, there is a 5.74 meter setback from the property line to the south to the edge of the curb, and also a similar 5.74 from the southeast corner of the property to the edge of the curb on Shaw Street. Therefore, we're very close to a 6-meter corner rounding. Transportation Services has also reviewed the application and didn't advise us that we require any further setback to achieve sight lines on a corner rounding in this case. Otherwise, they would have. With regards to accessible parking and parking spaces, again, this was designed with the multiplex bylaw standards in mind, as well as bylaw 89/2022, which does not require parking spaces for this type of development, even if it were considered as an apartment building or a multiplex. And also, as mentioned by a few of the residents here too, this is a very heavily trafficked bike route, so there's an expectation that the future residents of this building would be utilizing the bike route, as well as access to nearby transit. Ossington Station is about 350 meters away walk. Christie Station about 700 meters away. So it's very close in proximity to transit. This was discussed also with the provision of bike parking to Transportation Services. Originally, they wished to see bike parking on the site, then realized that this is a roplex or a multiplex in form and character, and rescinded that comment and required us to have no bike parking spaces. We do have a variance for long-term bike parking spaces. If I can go to one of the slides.
Mr. Chen, sorry to interrupt. I wonder if you could
yeah,
wrap up.
Of course,
Thank
sir.
you. Some of
So
this may come out in questions from my colleagues.
Of course, sir.
Yeah.
If you can go over to the slide regarding the bike parking variance, as with another application that I brought before this committee on 295 Oakwood, we did provide a drawing to Transportation Services to have 4 bike parking spaces in the rear yard. And this is what is also proposed here. We still require the variance because a long-term parking space has to be inside a building. In this case, we propose it on the exterior of the building in the rear yards. And I would be happy to have, should the committee decide to approve the application, to have a condition to provide 4 bike parking spaces per lot in the rear yard. So that when we go into building permits, that would be satisfied. We are also speaking with the street furniture unit to provide 3 bike rings on the Lead Street frontage, and that conversation is ongoing as well with the street furniture unit at the owner's cost to install. With regards to the landscaping, yes, what we're proposing here is a degree of improvement over the previous landscaping. Another condition that I feel could be imposed by the committee should they decide to approve the application is to require that the public boulevard adjacent to the site be improved to soft landscaping at the owner's cost as well, obviously outside of the walkways that are required to the entries and the exits on the site. Just one more thing. Regarding accessible units, there are 3 accessible units proposed in the development. Each of the lower level units are proposed to be accessible units with elevators in that rear patio that you see on the plans as well. I think this is as much as I can address with over the time that I have, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ms. Chen?
He's speaking for 3.
3 units, exactly. It's a big project.
You should give him 3 times.
3 times? 15 minutes?
I think he's
I
done.
think we've covered it.
I think he's done.
Let me just see if any colleagues have any questions or
Can I
clarification.
Mr. Chen, can I just have
Mr. Clay?
just a clarification on your bike parking spots? I mean, it is a very bike-friendly neighborhood.
Yes.
And as you know, did you say 4 in total or 4 per fourplex?
It would be 4 per fourplex.
Good, okay.
So a total of 12 spaces.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that.
So even though we meet the requirements are for 4 spaces per lot, I know they aren't shown on the site plans that are provided to the committee. So if the condition can be imposed, and by the time we go for a building permit submission, it would be put on the plans.
Okay.
But since they are 12 spaces, the required long-term spaces are 12 spaces, but they're not inside the building, so therefore the variance is
Right,
still.
so they'd be in that backyard
maintained.
area. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the Engineering Construction Services submitted a report,
I believe so.
and one of the conditions for the minor variance is the provision of on-site bicycle parking spaces, 2 short-term, 12 long-term.
There you go. Can, you
And
seen
that's
that?
dated December 17th, 2024.
So that's 2 more than you're offering.
So yes, sir, and I reviewed this and discussed this with Transportation Services, and as part of the online AIC file, do also note that Transportation Services submitted 3 emails saying they have no longer any concerns. After our discussions, that they no longer have any issues with the provision of the long-term parking spaces, because I showed them the drawing of the site plan that shows that there will be bike parking on the site. I think it's on slide number, it says variances 14, bicycle parking.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, what about the restoration of the areas of the mutual easements over parts 5 and 6 with appropriate landscaping and a full curb gutter? That's also a variant or a condition imposed under the variance applications.
Sir, thank you, Ms. Salatino. The Transportation Services, we also discussed that with them. They wish to see the Part 5 lands be converted to soft landscaping and then also curb and gutter filled. And as I mentioned in my initial presentation as well, is that we had discussions with the northerly neighbor. They have elderly parents and they have car access through that side yard and they wish to maintain it. I discussed that with Transportation Services and they understood and they rescinded the comment too, as evidenced in an email also up on the Application Information Center. And they accepted that as well.
Thank you.
Sorry, so Kristen, just help me understand. So what exactly are you going to do relative to those engineering conditions? So you're going to give 12 parkings or bicycle spots, not the 12 plus 2. Is that correct?
That's correct. So
And the gutter, the curb and gutter issue?
So that has been not addressed, but Transportation Services is satisfied with the response that we gave.
So you're basically saying that that doesn't apply anymore because you've covered it off?
Yes, sir. And also, Transportation Services has sent emails, I think, yesterday to that end.
Okay.
To their satisfaction. And just to speak to the long-term spaces I've spoke to regarding for each of the lots. So there's a provision of 12 spaces in the rear yards. And for the short-term parking spaces, that is being addressed through discussions with the street furniture unit to provide, in fact, 3 bike parking rings on the Leeds frontage.
So you've
road.
got the short-term covered off as well?
Yes, but we
Okay.
still required the variance.
Fair enough.
If I might just, I think partly for the concerns that people have expressed with regard to the height. So in your presentation, you show the additional ask, the variance is about 0.48 if I'm not mistaken. But 11 meters is what you're allowed.
Yes,
so by
sir.
right, you could build your structure to that height, to 11 meters. Am I correct?
That's correct.
So it's a marginal difference that you're asking for.
That's correct, sir. The request is for a 4.4% numerical increase in the height. And as shown on the elevations to, I think, in one of the slides, you can see in the red strip what the difference is. And also the height, the impacts of the increase in the 0.48 meters height is also mitigated by the fact that the architect has designed the proposal with angled roofs both on the front and the rear to mitigate that further. And also having the building more set back from the rear lot line than the previous building as well.
The reason I asked the question is also to inform anybody who's concerned about the height that really you have 11 meters by right. And so the ask is not that much greater than what you're allowed.
Yeah, yes, sir. And of course, what the committee is to evaluate is whether the increase in the height that's being proposed is minor over what is the minor impact over what is proposed. And in my respectful submission, it is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And any other questions, Ms. Chan? No? No? Should we take it into committee?
Mm-hmm.
Any conversation, discussion, any thoughts, Ms. Chan?
Just very quickly. especially the bike parking. And we went to working with transportation, and we resolved both of the long-term and short-term. And that was the only question in the beginning I have, or concern I have. And it explained really well, and the presentation was really well done. And in my opinion, with the location of this site, and also even if you put an apartment building, I think the cumulative impact is more or less the same. It's not going to improve the impact if you make it into account. So I think that the proposed development will work for this site as well.
Thank you, Mr. Clay.
Yeah, I make a couple of observations. One is that we have a planning report that basically is supportive of that, and those who are in this business will appreciate that's not very common at all to get that kind of thing. And I think it reflects the fact that we are, the applicant is trying to introduce 12 rental units into an existing established neighborhood within walkable distance, not only from transit, but from retail, commercial. There's lots of parkland around there. I think if you step back and look at what City Council is trying to achieve is to bring this kind of rental accommodation into neighborhoods that can support and sustain it. And I think this neighborhood fits that bill. This is a replacement for an apartment building that was there before. I think, you know, one of you mentioned incrementally. It really isn't significantly beyond what was there before. And the as of right permissions allow for 11 meters, and this is just marginally above that. So they are 2-bedroom units, so that while they aren't the 3 and 4 bedrooms that some places have, I think that they can reasonably accommodate small families or couples that would be able to benefit from living in this neighborhood. So I think it's a really good application, a great proposal in an area that sorely needs this kind of rental accommodation and can accommodate it, frankly.
Mr. Reid, any thoughts?
Sure, yeah, I won't add too much more because I agree with both of my colleagues, but I'd just like to note that it's a material improvement over many conditions that was there before in terms of the rear yard and the front yard setback. I think the massing models were very effective in showing that, and I know some of the neighbors had concerns about the green space, but that quite sizable boulevard that was there before will remain and will be substantially improved on Shaw Street as part of this. So that whole question about the turning of the corner and the safety of that, I don't think that's a concern from my perspective. I think it's a very good application.
Thank you. Just for my own part, I think it is a great, when I saw it, and I did want to see what was in that spot before, and I think this is a great improvement. Yes, there's certain requests slightly beyond what's allowed, but they are all marginal, and I think this would be a great project. I think, thank you for the offer of the condition of the 12 bicycle spaces that you've mentioned. I'm just trying to think, were there any other conditions? It's just a standard engineering conditions for...
Yeah.
Three.
That's right.
Microphone, we can't hear you.
Sorry.
Can we
you hear
impose
me?
that condition if it's a municipal boulevard? We can't do that. We have to take him for his word.
Yeah, taking his word in good faith, yeah.
Thank you. So that won't be a condition applied.
Yeah.
But it'll be on your conscience. So I'm sorry, we can't entertain any. We can't entertain. We've already discussed. You had your opportunity, and we're done. I'm so sorry. So I think the only conditions that I can see is with regard to the bicycles. I don't believe there are any other, and the engineering,
The
of
standard
course.
engineering.
Standard engineering. Can I look forward to a motion?
I didn't see a
please?
forestry. There's no trees on the site,
No
is there?
forestry.
No,
I
trees.
don't see the forestry.
Chair, I'm happy to move a motion on this one.
Thank you.
If you're okay. I think for all the reasons we've all stated, this is I think a good proposal. I'd like to move approval subject to the standard engineering conditions. I think we're going to not include the conditions in the engineering report about minor variance. I think we're gonna cover them off. A condition that there be 12 bicycle parking spaces on site. You're gonna do short-term eventually, but do we put a condition in there about short-term, or just leave it alone?
No.
We'll leave that alone. And I think that's it. I don't think we can do the permeable paver condition, because we can't impose something on the city.
No.
Okay, so I think that's my motion.
Yes, I will second that.
Ms.
Yes.
Chan, thank you. All those in favor?
With all the conditions, yeah.
Mr. Chan, you have your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members.
Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on to number 21. Number 21 is 61 Clovelly Avenue. The consent requested to obtain consent to sever the property into 2 undersized residential lots. Purpose of the applications to construct a new 3-story semi-detached dwelling with front and rear basement patios, front and rear ground floor porch with stairs, a rear second floor balcony, and a rear 3rd-story platform. Committee had before it the following communication: copy of draft, a revised plan of survey, copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans and elevations, 3 photographs of the subject property received October 24th, 24, covering letter from the agent dated November 4th, 25. Oh, sorry, that should, I think there's an error in that one, Madam Secretary Treasurer. The agent, it's a covering letter from the agent, should be 2024, I believe, not 2025, November. Okay. Commenting agency reports, there's a staff report from Urban Forestry. There's a Metrolinx advisory staff report as well, dated February 19th, 25. And opposition correspondence from owners of 561A, 561B, 559 and 557 Oakwood Avenue and 59 Clovelly Avenue, received 24th February 2025. In addition, we have email correspondence from City Planning dated December 13th, 2024, Transportation Engineering report February 13th, and 2 that were received February 19th, 2025. Also staff reports from Community Planning dated February 14th, 2025, and from Engineering December 17th, 2024. We have support correspondence from 830 Shore Street, received February 5th.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think this was for the last.
Did I? Oh my
for
goodness.
the Shaw one. It's okay.
Oh, that's right. I'll have to ask for one-sided printing.
Okay, through you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair, at this time, we do have the agent online. We also have one person here to speak.
Thank you. Mr.
Hello,
Perez.
hello, good afternoon, Chairman and committee members. My name's Eddie Perez. I'm at 537 Rogers Road. And as you stated, we want to divide the lot into 2 parcels and build a 3-story house. The 3-story house, it's the 3rd floor is less than half of the footprint. If you put the side elevation, you can see that.
Sorry, Mr. Perez, just to let you know, you are doing a presentation right now, so we're just going to start the clock.
Yeah, you want me to?
Yeah, I could start from the beginning, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay.
You want me to
you're
go
on the
ahead?
clock now. Go ahead.
Okay, it's like if you put the side elevation, you can see that the 3rd story is less than half the length of the house. Also, we got the letters from the neighbors saying about the height at on Oakwood. Those 3 houses are up higher. If you put the pictures that we have from the house, our house is down 1.5 meters lower. So when the actual third floor height is going to be not as tall as theirs. Most of the house is approximately 8 meters high. And then the center portion is a little higher, but we don't have any height variances. We don't have any GFA variances. The only variances mostly we have is pertaining to the undersized lot, one, and the undersized area of the lot, which is 191, we have 0.7, permit is 255, frontage 7.5, and we have 4.75. And we have the number 51A and 51B on the same street, has the same size lots as ours. And then the other variances are mostly pertaining just to the balconies and such. So I feel what the presentation that we have and the proposal that we have, it meets the four tests. The variances are very minor in nature, and we have the planning supported the application. And I saw the Metrolinks and the forestry, those items, we'll take care of them. As you know, we have to go through the permit process. If you need to and answer any questions, I'll feel free to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perez. We have Mr. Bruno or Buono? Angelo? Del Buono. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Del Buono, 557 Oakwood Avenue. Oh, sorry. It's now on, okay.
Thank you.
Repeat it? First name is Angelo, last name is Del Buono, 557 Oakwood Avenue. And I just came just to understand if engineering from the city has reviewed the lot, because there is a huge barrier wall separating the laneway to the new house that they're trying to propose. And when I read it, they want to be 1 meter away from the wall, but front of the wall is collapsing, so I want to understand who is responsible for fixing that wall. It's a structural problem that I'm worried about, because if they start digging, I don't know. I'm talking, this wall's been there since the 60s. So I don't know if anybody from the city was looking at the structural wall before they decide to say, yes, I can put a house there. Thank you.
Thank you very kindly for that. I did notice that in one of the images.
Yes.
That's right on the property line, is it?
It's the neighboring
Yes.
property, the elevated property.
Yeah, we're elevated, yes, and but he says, but a lot of the folks are also complaining that we're seeing a lot of these monster homes, and everybody's sunlight is destroying us. That means there's no more sun to basically melt the snow, and if the house is being built, they're putting it 2 homes, the front has no place to put snow. That's another one.
Yeah, we all have that problem.
And the last one is, we need to get these new builders to decide to pave cement. Don't use gravel, because guess what? All the gravel remains on the road, and it goes into the sewer systems. I had to do a lot of cleaning for these folks who go cheap on not putting asphalt or cement on driveways. And my other thing is, too, is the length. The length now impedes into the fire station. So I want to know from the fire station side, is that structure wall being maintained? Because once they start digging, they have to remove that garage. There's another retraining wall that belongs to the fire station. It's also elevated. And I believe this location used to have a ravine at one time, back in 1940s probably, when a streetcar was still operating in that area.
Have you lived in this area for a while?
Long time.
So do you know who built that retaining wall originally?
No, it was there when we got it.
Okay.
It was done by fence, but I fixed half of it by putting bricks and blocks so nobody can fall on the other side. But the neighbors to the left of me, they're not spending any money, so I don't want to touch it. But now the structure wall needs to be reviewed. And I talked to their their excavator guy, and he said the same thing to me. The owners of that property need to connect with the City of Toronto's engineering if they want this fixed.
Can I intercept you, through you?
Just a moment.
I'm done.
Are you recording?
Done.
Okay. Let me
Thanks.
just, if
Yeah,
Ms. Chan has
just
a
a
question
comment,
for
just a
your
comment,
comment.
just
Thank you.
following your, about the retaining wall. You can call 311, or there's the property standard committee. The subdivision is called the a fence viewing committee or something. Is to do with this fence or wall on property line. They will come and see who is responsible. A lot of times it's the share responsibility, and then they will fairly put a judgment on who will pay whatever. So that's a process. That's what I'm trying to say.
I do notice on the site plan, it
Yeah.
does say the existing retaining wall to be relocated. So we'll ask the agent that and see what their, I mean, it's to their advantage to make sure that retaining wall doesn't fall over, right?
Correct.
Okay, so get the
But
agent.
when you say relocated, could you explain
Well, I
what's...
guess we'll ask the agent what he
Agent
means
will
by that.
give
Yeah,
that
we do
answer.
not know.
To my side, relocating doesn't mean steal from our property, because that's a laneway for cars. Before the fire station was built, I believe that was all laneway for houses that belonged with parking garages in the back
Yep.
for Oakwood Avenue.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so very much. Thank you.
That's all I have.
Are there any other speakers, Madam Secretary? No? We'll go back to Mr. Perez. Mr. Perez, are you there? Mr. Perez? Oh. Good.
Hello, Mr. Perez? Is he muted, unmuted? Mr. Perez, you're unmuted?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can
Yes,
hear you.
thank you. I wonder
Okay,
if
so
you
I
could
don't
just respond to the concerns that Mr. Del Buono had raised, particularly with
Yeah.
regard to that retaining wall.
Yeah. The retaining wall will be all on our property. It won't be any encroachments. If you put the picture of the front of the house, you'll see the portion that is leaning over. When I first took on this project, I told my clients that they're gonna need an engineering. We're gonna have to put a shoring to hold up the soil and all that. Then we're gonna build a new retaining wall as per engineer's report and design.
Yeah.
The engineers, we're gonna have to build a retaining wall before we build the house. Because even that, if you see that portion behind is also in good shape, it's straight. That part of the retaining wall has you can see in the front picture, a little bit behind the house. We might have to underpin that one to maintain that one. So that, to underpin that one would be better before we build the house. So we were gonna have to prepare the retaining wall and all that before the house is built. And my clients, and they know that that has to be done first. So we took that all into consideration. We don't wanna make it dangerous for anybody, not even for the actual house we're building, or for the neighbors in Oakwood that back onto it. So we did look at those concerns when we were looking at the project originally.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Just another quick question from me is, I take it you will require building permits and safety permits, whatever they're called, before you begin the construction of the homes themselves. As you mentioned, the retaining wall would have to be approved before you move further.
Yeah, we're gonna apply with the retaining wall when we apply for permits. So we're gonna apply with the whole package, not just the houses. And to make this safe, is like I said, the retaining wall has to be built before the houses are built.
Thank you. Let me just see if any of my colleagues, Mr. Reed, you have a question?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just to Mr. Perez, I'm assuming that you'd be in touch with all the residents on Oakwood who are going to be impacted by the construction of the reconstruction of the retaining wall, and you'll keep them in the loop?
Yeah, I'll have my clients informed and to be in touch with them when the work's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Chan has a question for you.
Yes, I do have a question. If you look at the photograph of your existing front photographs, the front is mostly asphalt paved, and then in your proposed on your site plan, you have proposed to remove some of the asphalt and restore into soft landscaping and also just with a walkway, right? So
That's correct.
my question is that in your proposal, you only do it up to your property line, obviously, but do you have the plan to continue the same treatment up to the sidewalk as is shown in your front photograph? So it will.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're okay with that.
Okay, we cannot really impose that on you because it's not your property, but we just trust you will do the same thing, right? Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. It'll look better to get the grass continue to look nicer anyway.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or concerns? No? Thank you. Yeah. I don't know about that, but Mr. Perez, can you answer that question?
Well, according to the retaining wall, we'll take care of any retaining wall but I had a quick look. I wasn't aware that there's any problems at the back, but if we have to adjust it, we'll adjust the whole thing. I'll have the engineer go on site and we'll mark where the house is gonna go and all that, so we make sure that there's nobody impacted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. And
You're welcome.
that's not one of the items before us. We just have the variances before us. Can we go into committee and look for either some discussion and a motion, perhaps?
Sure,
Mr. Reed?
I'm happy to bring a motion. I think that, I mean, these are two narrow lots, but I think the impacts of them are kind of, someone could build a house this size on this lot, and I think it would have the same, one structure, like one house, and it would have the same impacts, I think, on the neighbors as what's being proposed. The only difference is now you have a new unit, and I think that's a positive thing. I think the third story being stepped back, both from the front and back, is a very positive thing to limit the overlook. I see that the applicant has put in screening on the sides of the decks to prevent overlook into the backyards. From both the front and the back, and I think that's good. What's being raised here in terms of the retaining wall is a hugely important thing, but I'm confident that that'll get taken care of through the building permit process, and the applicant is very aware of that. So I move approval of the application subject to urban forestry conditions and the standard consent conditions.
And this would be forestry condition 3 on both part 1 and part 2.
2 times, yeah.
Yes.
And standard engineering conditions. Thank you.
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Chan. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Seconder, all in favor? Thank you. Mr. Perez, you have your approval. Thank you. Number 22. Okay. Hopefully I haven't got these pages mixed up, but number 21 is done. Number 22 is 270 to -272 Floyd Avenue. The consent requested to obtain consent to sever the merged property into 3 residential lots. The committee had before it the following communication: copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised public notice issued February 13th, 2025, 4 photographs of the trees received February 7th, 2025, covering letters from the agent December 10th, 2024 and February 18th, 2025. Commenting agency reports, email correspondence from the planner community planning received January 13th, 2025. Transportation engineering coordinator received February 7th, 2025. And then we have staff reports from the manager engineering received January 13th and urban forestry received February 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have the agent online. We also have support, but I believe it's the owners. So we can just ask the agent that.
Thank
Because
you.
they're showing us 270 Floyd Avenue.
Thank you. Mr. Nadeem Irfan, are you online?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
We don't have anybody in opposition. Are the two names we have, I believe it's Subir Day and Ananya Day. Are they the owners? Will they be speaking?
They are the owners, I believe.
Okay, so they're not in opposition, presumably, I hope.
No.
Thank you. So it's just you speaking. Don't have anybody in opposition from what I can tell. No. All right. Let me just ask my colleagues if they require a presentation or not.
No,
presentation.
It's a technical
I do have a question.
A question?
Just a quick one.
Mr. Chair, before we go forward, I would like to request the staff to bring up the updated zoning, not the zoning, the public notice, which shows the correct lot areas. This is the one. Thank you.
That's my question.
Is this an amended application?
Yes.
So let me just see which of are there any particular variances that are being?
There's no variance involved.
Through you, Mr.
No-
Chair, a revised notice went out to reflect this, and this is just based from the draft R plan.
So that's the only amendment, I take it, or would that be considered an amendment, presumably?
Well, no, this is what went out as
Oh, okay.
revisions,
So
right? So we sent
no
out an
issue.
original notice, then we mailed out a revised notice, which
Okay.
reflects what's on the screen right now.
Good, thank you. We do have a question.
Oh,
Or is that was
that's
the
exactly
question?
my question
Okay.
about go
Thank
through
you.
the revised zoning, whether there's anything that we're seeing that's, that's not matched.
Thank you. And this one has, I think it's just the forestry number 3 and engineering condition, the standard ones. Any other questions, or would you like to take it into committee?
Chair, I think this
Yeah.
is a fairly straightforward, this is just a repatriation of a previous approval that expired, and it looks identical to it, so I think it's a technical thing. I'll move approval of this
Thank you.
application, subject to forestry number 3 and the standard engineering conditions.
Okay. Seconder, Mr. Reed, thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Mr. Irfan, you have your approval. And number 23. Number 23 is 205 Westmoreland Avenue. Purpose of the application to convert the existing 2 1/2 story semi-detached dwelling into a duplex by constructing a rear 2-story addition, a rear ground floor deck, a covered front porch with a 2nd-story balcony. Also, to construct a new 2-story ancillary building, 1 car lift from a basement level and 1 laneway suite with a 2nd-story balcony in the rear yard abutting the laneway. There will be a total of 3 residential units on this lot, 2 units within the main building and 1 unit within the ancillary building. The committee had before it the following communication: copy of minutes from January 15 public hearing and the materials submitted for consideration. Copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Thank you. And this is number 23. Christine Thorne, are you online? Ms. Thorne, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, good afternoon. Let me see if are there any questions from my colleagues for you. There are there's no opposition to this one, so let me just see if there's any no questions.
Yeah, just a very quick question is the variance number 3. You the front yard you propose no soft landscaping. I can see from the plan because the property line is very close, but there's a little bit of discrepancy in the survey. There was, of course, not indicating there's not soft landscaping, but on your site plan, you actually propose a small area of soft landscaping. So can you speak to that, because you said that it's 0, but that seems to be have a small area. It's soft landscape. On your site plan. He says.
Ms. Thorne? Hello, Ms. Thorne. Hi. Did you get the question that Ms. Chan was asking?
It's labeled as new soft landscape.
Yes, but it's not me who. I was just listening. The principal, Adam Mozaffari, has to discuss with you. So I was just listening. I think he's online, maybe.
Is there someone else online?
Is there somebody else?
Oh, there seems to be someone else talking.
Ms. Thorne?
Yes.
What's his name? You mentioned somebody's name.
Yes, Adam Mozaffari.
Hi there.
There was a question, Mr. Mozaffari, from one of our panel members, Ms. Chan. She had a question. I wonder if you could perhaps answer it. Ms. Thorne couldn't. She referred us to you. Ms. Chan,
can you?
The question is that in your variance number 3, you're proposing 0 of soft landscaping at the front yard, but on your site plan, you also propose there's a small square rectangular area of soft landscaping. It's labeled new soft landscape. So can you explain that? Are you proposing some, or you're proposing 0? Yeah.
Yes, am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for the question. My name is Ardavan Mozaffari. I'm representing 205 Westmoreland. My address is...
Good. I was going to ask you for the address.
Yes, 32 Sousa Mendes Street, Toronto, M6P 0B2. I apologize for the confusion.
Thank you. Your response?
Yes, with regard to the question, so there is, if you go to drawing on page 8, please. I'm sorry, page 10 of the drawings for the main residence. Yes, thank you. So at the front, there is, as per the zoning, your question is about the front area, right?
Yes, the front yard you're proposing on the variance says 0 landscaping, but on your site plan you said that there's a proposed area of landscaping that just will be beside the stairs.
Yes, that has been revised. We revised that with the plans examiner, with the zoning examiner, and that has been reflected on our updated drawings, and they also reflected it on their latest zoning notice.
So it's still 0? You still?
No, we have a little bit of landscape just at the front of the stairs, and I can confirm the number.
Okay, please, yeah, please do.
Thank you.
Confirm the number, yeah.
Sure, it is. It is 1.4 square meters.
Okay.
Do you have the percentage as well?
Pardon me?
Can you give us a percentage as well?
So the percent is...
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's showing as 18%. So
18%.
Yeah, variance number 3 refers to front yard landscaping. where 50% is required and they're proposing 0%. Variance number 4 pertains to front yards, that soft landscaping. And they're showing 18% at 1.4 square meters. So, Member Chan, were you asking about variance number 3?
Yeah, there's a discrepancy. One is 0, and then the other one suddenly you have 18%.
One's landscaping and one's soft. It's a weird combination, which I've never quite understood.
Yeah, but then if the landscaping is 0, how can you get a soft landscaping?
That's a good question.
That's what I'm, usually the soft landscape
I've
is
seen
smaller.
that. I've seen that one before,
Yeah,
right? And
smaller,
it's
I
weird.
see. But the total landscaping can be larger, but then within that, there's some soft landscaping, right? But then if the landscaping is already 0, where do you get the 18%?
They should be the same, right?
It can be smaller, the soft landscaping of percentage of the landscaping, total landscaping area, right? So if one is already, the bigger area is 0, how do you get the 18%? That's my question, I guess, yeah.
So I guess that's a good question. So we do have 1.4 meters of landscape, soft landscaping provided, which is the area at the front of the stairs.
That's variance number 4, correct?
Yeah, one before, yeah, but.
So variance number
That's
3.
correct.
Should be the same.
Should be at least the same, yeah, should be at least the same.
Should be something,
Yeah.
rather than 0.
No, so
0, yeah.
that number 1.4 should have repeated there instead of 0.
So it should be, variance number 3 should also read 1.4 or 18%?
That's correct.
But the percentage would be different.
Yeah, percentage would be different presumably, because it's 50%.
75% of the landscaping is soft landscaping.
Can you calculate the percentage for variance number 3, Mr. Muzaffari?
Sure, I can do
And
that
the
right
square
now.
meters, please, while you're at it.
Make Yim figure it out.
But you can see why.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
We all agree with you,
So,
I think.
no one can do the math.
I cannot do it for them.
That's a
Maybe the
good
chair
catch.
should do the math.
I am opening my calculator here.
No
It'll be
problem.
1 second. It is, it's giving me 18% again. Give me a second. Okay, so the first item would be 1.4 meters and the correct percentage is 18%. The second item, the landscape remains the same, but the percentage is actually 24%.
Sorry, let me just see if I've got this correct. So variance number 3 is going to read, you require 50%, and now it's what percentage?
18%,
18%, and the square meters?
1.4.
1.4, okay. And variance number 4, which should be 75%,
Yes.
required, and you are providing
24%.
24%, okay. And the square meters there?
1.4.
1.4, okay. Sound okay? Okay.
Chair, just a quick question. So, sir, you've got a large rear platform that on your plans says it's a glass guardrail. I mean, you're pretty close, you're semi-detached. Is there any overlook concerns?
At the proposed deck?
Yeah, the second floor deck mainly.
Oh, second floor deck. You know,
You've just got it labeled as glass guardrail.
yes, you know, we have approached the neighbors and talked to them about the proposal. They haven't raised any concerns.
On both sides, you've talked to the neighbors?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions, folks, or concerns? No?
No, thanks, Chair.
Okay. Could we take it to committee and look for a motion?
Oh, I sort of got lost with the actual number, but yeah, with the corrections, why we're going to amend the variances with the new figure. And I think this is like a quite straightforward application. I can move for approval with the amended agenda.
Amended. Yeah, and I don't believe there are any conditions attached.
No.
I can second that, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Reid. We have a motion on the floor. Ms. Chan moved and Mr. Reid seconded. All those in favor of the amended one? Thank you. Ms. Muzaffari, I have your approval. Thank you. And now moving on to number 24. Item number 24 is 24 Gladstone Avenue. Purpose of the application to alter the existing two-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear one-story addition. There will be two residential dwelling units, one in the basement and one to occupy the first and second levels within this dwelling duplex. The committee had before it the following communication: copy of the minutes from the January 15th, 2025 public hearing and the materials submitted for consideration. Copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. There's a covering letter from the agent received February 14, 2025. And we also have an advisory staff report from Metrolinx.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Thank you. This is number 24. Mr. Shedletsky, are you there?
Yes, hi, Jamie
I
Shuletsky.
beg your pardon. We don't have any people in opposition, so this is, I believe, a fairly straightforward application. Let me just see if my colleagues require the presentation or if they have questions for you. Mr. Clay, you have a question?
Yeah, it looks like you've done improved the rear yard landscaping quite considerably from previous, which is great. I'm just looking at the site plan, and there's your one-story rear addition, but just to the south of that, it's just blank. Is that, what are you proposing there? It looks like sod to the west, but what are you proposing just adjacent to your rear addition?
I believe that's also going to be some form of combination of soft landscaping, but also just a pathway.
Okay, so that's included in your whatever percent it was?
Yes.
Your 29%?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any other questions, concerns? No? Okay. I think we just there are no conditions that I can see other than the Metrolinx is a condition from what I can see.
Yes, so I'm happy to do an abbreviated summary of the proposal if you want to hear it. If you don't, that's also fine. I believe my clients also have a solicitor that's on the line that wanted to speak to the Metrolinx condition.
Okay, let me just see if we require any presentation on that. No, I don't see any enthusiasm for that. Thank you so much. Let me take it into committee and see if we can.
No, I wouldn't mind hearing the lawyer's comments about Metrolinx.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's probably like there's the environmental as well as the warning clause. The committee would just impose the warning clause, perhaps.
Yeah, we wouldn't do the easement. Is that if that's what the lawyer's concern is about?
I would suspect, but we can hear from him. So we'll unmute Adrian Frank. Is that who it is?
It looks like that's the planner.
Yeah. That's all we have online right now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me all right?
We can, thank you. Are you able to speak to the Metrolinx matter?
Yes, certainly. Thank you so much. I appreciate the committee's time. Typically, this is the type of issue that is dealt with on an advisory basis rather than as a condition of approval. And that was our primary concern with seeing this being brought forward by Metrolinx. If you're familiar with them, the Metrolinx guidelines are intended for a larger scale of development, something that happens in proximity to rail, but also affects a larger number of people. In those guidelines and in the memo that you have on the screen, there's a reference made to section 3.9 of the document that warning clauses should be considered in the stakeholder communication process. That reference speaks to leasing and the implication, selling, purchasing, or leasing at scale, has to do with larger scale development and not something like this, a minor addition for an existing home. That's underscored in the guidelines, and in the opening of the guidelines, they state the main objective of this report is to provide a set of guidelines that can be applied to mitigate impacts of locating new development in proximity to railway operations. It is important to note that these guidelines are not intended to be applied to existing locations where proximity issues already exist, as these locations present their own unique challenges which must be addressed on a site-specific basis. So, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I would submit to you that while I appreciate Metrolinx's interest in sending out these memos when an application has been identified in proximity to rail, it is not appropriate for this request to be made in every situation. The guidelines that they are speaking to explicitly state that for existing locations where those proximity issues already exist, this is not their tool. So the impact of accepting this condition would be disproportionate to the scope of work my client is trying to do. This is a minor addition to a home to make it more usable. It does not involve a transfer of the property. It does not involve additional leaseholders or even a future owner. To impose a condition like this is an unnecessary burden to the land, to the homeowner, to future transactions. It creates legal and financial complications. And for all those reasons, we would ask that these be treated as an advisory comment from Metrolinx and not be imposed as a condition.
Thank you so very much. Let me just see if there are any questions with regard to that from my colleagues. No, thanks. None? Yeah, I was just looking at noting the agenda for the deferred package, and it actually says Metrolinx advisory report. But this one, I think, indicates a condition. Anyway, thoughts, comments? Ms. Chan?
I think that we can just take the agent's comment, because if Metrolinx has authority over this, they will impose anyway. They will have to go through them anyway.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that would sound like a motion to me.
Yeah. Yes. I'd like to have a motion to move this application. Are there any conditions that
I don't see any conditions at all.
I don't see this. The next one. There seems to be no conditions, but also we would like to take the Metrolinx comment as a note. We receive those. Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Sure, I'll second.
Mr. Reed, thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Unanimous vote. Thank you. You have your approval, sir. Thank you. We move into the next stage of applications. We're looking at item number 25. Item number 25. Item number 25, 3664 Salmon Avenue. Purpose of the application to alter the existing one-story detached dwelling by constructing a front covered porch front and rear one-story additions, a complete second-story addition above the entire dwelling, and a rear ground floor deck. The existing one-story ancillary building, shed, and driveway in the rear yard abutting Leroy Avenue will be maintained and unaltered. The committee had before it the following communication: copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. 2 photographs of trees on the subject property, received January 2nd, 2025. Covering letter from the agent, received January 17th, 2025. We also have a staff report from Urban Forestry. And number 25, the agent, Mr. Nanavati.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Shai.
Hi. Sorry to interrupt. Please go ahead. Name and address.
My name is Shahid Dhanavati, and the address is 1304 Woodbine Avenue, Unit 1, Toronto.
Thank you. You don't have anybody in opposition, but let me just see if my colleagues have questions or require a presentation.
I just have one question, Chair.
Mr. Reid, please go ahead.
Thank you. I note that your rear yard soft landscaping is quite low, and I'm wondering if you'd considered any ways that you could maybe improve that.
Yeah, there is an existing interlock pad, and there's a lot of concrete over there. I could try my best to add some more soft landscaping over there.
Thank you. Mr. Reid, a little more?
Yeah, thanks. Okay, we need to have
details.
A number?
We need details, yes. So how much could you add, and where would that be?
Yeah, if you look at the existing interlock pad that is there on the existing ground floor plan, A103, we could move all that stuff into the softscaping as such. So which actually, if you look at the proposed drawings, we've already done that, in fact, yeah. We've in fact done it.
Yeah,
actually.
I understand that you've done that, but you're still requesting a variance to provide 26% of
yes.
soft landscaping instead of the 50% required. So what I'm saying is that you're quite low, and I'm wondering if what you're proposing can be improved.
Yeah, actually, at this current moment, we don't have much space over there, and there's a massive green patch on Home Street, I think.
Right.
And we are maintaining that patch really very well. If you look at Google also, we're really keeping that thing really trimmed up and really cultured over there. So if at all, that can be an excuse to suffice. Basically, it should be helpful to us.
Yeah, I understand that. Is there any space you could remove from the driveway, or is the driveway fully used?
That's an existing driveway. If at all I remove that, I'll get another variance for the car.
Okay, understood. Thanks.
Perhaps I could just throw in a 2 cents worth here. I'm looking at your site plan, and you've got a large area of interlock. It's an interlock pad. If you remove that, I think you would not have a problem with the soft landscaping. I wonder if that's something you could do, because you've got a pretty large
We did that. Through you, Chair, we did that. So if you look at the proposed site plan, that area is all softscape.
I'm looking at site plan, and it's A1.01. Oh, that's the existing one, right? Okay, and your proposed one is 102. Is that the correct one I'm looking at?
Right, sir.
Oh, sorry. I think I've got the proposed site A1-01A.
Right.
Yeah, and it does show you've removed that, but then your deck has grown in size.
Right, because the reason being that there's no way that we can go in the front. At the back, currently, if you look at the existing floor plan, we just have one small bedroom. It's a one small bedroom bungalow. So the site is very restricted. Quite a challenge to even design over there. So with the requirement of 3 bedrooms and not very big bedrooms either, we had to use the site and extend at the back. So typically, there's very little limit. There's very little scope for us. We've given a deck over there, and it's an 8-foot deck as such. So it's not an extremely big deck either.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that deck could be reduced in size. You might have a better chance of.
Sure. Let's review. Yeah, sure. I can definitely do that. I'll convince the client. And would another foot of the deck, if at all it's brought down, would it help a little for the softscape? So we'll do that.
Gonna need some revised numbers.
Yeah, this is if you're considering reducing the size of the deck and increasing the soft landscaping, could you give us some new numbers for that variance?
Yes, I'll give you the numbers right now, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We'll get 19 square feet more.
So what would be the total that you would be providing?
Okay, so I'll give that to you as well. So it is the regular current softscaping that we provided is 20 square meter or 216 square feet. But rear yard is already 90%, sir, of the total lot. So if at all I add 19 square feet, it would be 26, 36, about 3235.41 square feet.
Sorry, I'm missing something. What percentage would that change to? Because currently you've got 29.8. And you're proposing?
20.
No, he's got 26.3, right? Through you, Mr. Chair. Currently, he's proposing 26.3% at 20.1 square meters.
Yes.
Okay, so what are you proposing in percentage and in square meters?
Okay, so is it okay if I propose right now for convenience in square feet?
No, we need it in square meters.
Okay, I'll do that right away.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, perhaps why don't we sit this item down, give him a chance to work out his numbers, and then we'll come back and move on to item number 26.
Sounds good. Thank you. We'll come back to you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. May I come back on the next item?
Yeah, we'll move on to the next item and come back to you. So we're looking at item number 26. Purpose of the application to alter the existing one-story detached, oh sorry, it's 364 Salmon Avenue. Oh, just reading that one again. I beg your pardon. Number 26 is 71 Hillholm Road. Purpose of the application is to alter the existing 2 and 1/2 story detached dwelling by constructing a 1-story front portico addition, a rear 1-story addition, and a rear 2nd-story addition. Committee had before it the following communication: copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Revised site plan and front yard landscaping calculation plan received February 19th, 2024. Email correspondence from the agent on February 19th, 2025. Arborist report received January 2nd, 2025. And we have a staff report from Urban Forestry as well.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent here in person, no registered speakers for this item.
Thank you. This is number 27. Oh, sorry, am I correct? 26, Hillholm. Thank you.
Item 26, 71 Hillholm Road.
It looks like we might need a presentation, Mr.
We don't have any registered speakers. That was from this morning's application.
Oh, that's right. That was
the other Hillholm.
I'm getting a little. That's Hillholm that we're done with. It's Darcy Street. Finally, I'll get there. I beg your pardon.
Okay,
No,
so,
Chair, we're still on, we're on item 26. We had an additional hill home this
Yeah,
morning.
there's 2 hill homes today.
Oh, gosh, okay, we're now at 71. Thank you.
so the agent is here in person, no registered speakers for this item.
Thank you very much. Okay.
No,
Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Richard Lee Brack. I'm the agent for the owner.
Thank you.
There was as you've already listed, there's a number of pieces of correspondence in the file. I'm happy to comment on it, but I just wanted to underline that the owner did consult with his neighbors, immediate adjacent neighbors, and they came back with an email saying they had no concerns. And you've already mentioned the front portico and 2 small additions at the rear, one on the ground floor, one on the second level. And then finally, I wanted to say that we did get some correspondence from the planning department who had some concerns about one of the variances, specifically the soft landscaping, which we worked together on and came up with an agreeable solution from the city's point of view.
Just a quick question. I didn't ask you what your address was. Sorry.
70, my address?
Yes.
My personal home address?
I believe that may be required, or is it the business
Or
address?
my business address, 34, business, yes, 3414 Young Street.
Thank you kindly. I don't know if is Mr. Krieger in opposition? No, because they've got it listed
Through you,
as
Mr. Chair, he was put in as this application, but it was for the morning.
for the morning one.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we have no registered speakers.
Okay, wonderful.
Are you
Makes it
changing,
easy.
sir, are you changing your landscaping variances, or they're just the same? So it's just a reconfiguration to deal with planning staff?
They aren't changing, but what we came up with together with planning is we made a large portion of the driveway permeable pavers, and they
Right.
were satisfied with that as a
Okay.
conciliation for the variance.
So it doesn't really change the percentage
No.
soft landscaping, it's
No.
permeable.
The
pavers.
treatment.
Good.
No,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Will you be fine if we tie the site plan to approval, just to secure the permit?
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, I think we can move to
Number 26, yep, I think we're ready to go.
Happy to move those. So
Mr.
first of all,
Crane?
thanks for coming down and sitting through a long period of time.
It's always interesting.
It's that's what we call it too. Your application was really quite straightforward and well presented, so we understood it quite well. It seems like a really modest addition to the front and the rear. It's good to see you put permeable pavers in. So I think this is quite a reasonable application. It's large lots, large homes. I don't think it'll have any impact on anyone. So I'm happy to move approval of this application. I think there's a forestry condition number 2.
Correct.
And other than that, as Peter suggests, we'll tie it to your site plan?
Revised site plan, yeah, February 18th, 2025.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a second, Ms. Chan?
Jim's gonna second.
Yeah, I can second it because it seems that you have a good concept of percentage and area of landscaping. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thanks for coming down.
Mr. Brack, do you have your?
Of course, it's been a long
approval?
time.
Thank you
Been a long
kindly.
time.
Tell all your friends.
I will. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll go back to item number 25, 364 East Salmon Avenue.
All right, number 25. Mr. Nanavati, are you there? Mr.
Yes.
Nanavati, you there?
Yes, I've got the numbers here.
Okay,
From
wonderful.
26.3%, we are changing to 29.91%.
29.1, and in square meters?
22.86.
22.86 meters
Yes.
squared. Okay, thank you. All right, let me just see if my colleagues have any questions for you.
So,
No?
no, sorry about that.
Another correction?
Yeah, no, perfect.
So it's 29.1%, variance number 6.
29.91.
91 and 22.86 meters squared. Got it right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Okay, colleagues, so take it into.
I can do this one because I created
sure.
that problem, sorry. I think that there's limited, I appreciate the fact that the agent has improved the situation. I do understand that there's limited area for approval, for improvement in that lot, given the size of the dwelling that's being proposed. But I do take the fact that there is quite a well-vegetated boulevard there. So I will move approval of the application as amended, subject to urban forestry condition 1.
Yes, I can second that too, with the amended.
Thank you, Mr. Reid. Thank you, Ms. Chan. I've got a motion on the floor to approve the amended application with forestry number 1 as a condition. I think that's it. All those in favor? Thank you. Mr. Nanavati, you have your approval. And 26 we've dealt with, 27, going on to 27. Okay.
27.
Number 27, purpose of the application, this is 28 Darcy Street. Purpose of the application to alter the existing 2 and 1/2 story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a complete 3rd story addition and a new rear 3-story addition with a basement walkout level. Also to construct a rear exterior staircase that will access each level. There will be a total of 4 residential dwelling units on this lot. The existing rear 2-story ancillary building will be maintained and unaltered. The committee had before it the following communication: copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, and 4 photographs of the subject property received on February the 14th, 2025.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Thank you. This is a fairly straightforward one, but it looks of it we just have one variance. Mr. Benkowski, you there?
Good evening, committee. Jonathan Benkowski, 3012 Houghton Avenue.
Thank you. Since we only have one variance on this particular one, let me just see if my colleagues have any questions for you. If not,
None from me.
Oh my goodness, this is a very inexpensive timepiece, Ms. Benkowski.
Well, I had been with you all day, so this is the first one that we're actually going to hear. So I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
I think we put them through the grinder on the previous one.
Thank you so much for your patience. It looks like we don't have any questions or concerns. Let me just take it into committee and see if we've got a motion.
Chair,
on the
I'm
floor.
happy with
Mr.
this one. I
Gray?
think that, as we all agree, this is very straightforward, of a minor depth variance, not even a length variance. So I think this is quite a supportable application, bringing in additional rental accommodation units into this neighborhood. So I'll move approval with no conditions.
Thank you. Seconder, Ms. Chan?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. All approved. Mr. Benkowski, you have your approval. Thank you. Okay, now we have number 28. Number 27. Number 27. No, that one. That's 25. 24. Number 28. Number 28 is 104 Manning Avenue. Purpose of the application to alter the existing 2-story townhouse dwelling by constructing a complete 3rd-story addition, cantilevered on the west side with a front 3rd-story covered balcony. Also to reconstruct the front 2nd-story balcony. The committee had before it the following communication: copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. 5 photographs of the subject property received December 30th, 2024. We also have staff reports from community planning received February 19th, 2025. We also have a support correspondence from 109 Manning Avenue and 4 form letters in support signed by owners and occupants of 105, 108, 108 and a half Manning, and 100 Manning, received respectively on February 14th and February 19th.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Thank you. And we have, is it Mary Ellen Lynch?
That's
Agent?
correct. Can you hear
Hi,
me?
good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We don't have anybody in contesting the application, which is good news. Bear with me. Too many pieces of paper here in front of me. Let me just see if my colleagues have any questions or queries of you.
Yeah, I do have small questions. If you bring the photographs of your front elevation versus also, it's just right underneath is your proposal, your proposed rendering of the front elevation. My question is about the, I guess the first floor dormer, the roof dormer. You propose a little balcony with a new dormer, but are you changing where you are attaching to the next door neighbors? You know, that the existing, like a shared dormer. Are you removing that part or are you altering it? It doesn't seem, when you look at your rendering, it seems that you're cutting it and then it's, are you affecting your neighbor's dormer, the side of the dormer? Did you follow me?
Yes, hello, thank you.
Yes, right? The first floor dormer, yeah. The rendering seems to suggest that you sort of, you got to remove some of your neighbor's existing dormer, because the existing dormer is shared, right? The center dormer.
Okay, so, sorry, Mr. Chair, do you want me to tell my name and address first before I?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I always forget to ask.
Okay. Mary Ellen Lynch, and I am the architect and agent for my clients at 104 Manning, and my address is 570 Annette Street.
Thank you so much.
So, Ms. Chan, to answer your question, so there's the shared gable, the peaked roof that comes to a point that the two neighbors do share. As you can see that is the front wall is masonry, so we would be retaining that. And then the roof line at the front of our proposal is going to change. So the angle of the front roof will become steeper in order to accommodate the third floor that we're proposing. Whereas the neighbors, attached neighbors, their roof line will remain at the lower slope.
But
Does that help?
Yeah, exactly. I hear what you said, but if you look at your rendering, it seems that you are cutting into their dormer. It's not a straight back. You know, there's like, you can even see the sky a little bit. You know, where you're meeting the neighbor in the central gable. That's what I'm trying to say. It seems that you're affecting their gable in your proposal.
Well, we may have to do some reframing on the gable rafters there, but essentially their side would remain. The slope is remaining of that center gable. Ours is just, our roof is going to come and encroach more closely over it towards the front. But on their side, it will remain the same.
Yeah, but I see, maybe it is the rendering that sort of misleading, I guess.
No, like maybe it's just because of the white band there that the fascia board it's still in the same plane. So the brick wall remains the same, the roof line at the front remains the same.
I'm not talking about the white. The back, you seem to have is a cut. That's what I'm saying.
Well, our new roof by its very nature will come more forward on that gable.
I see. Okay, understand.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Let me just see if there are any other questions.
No, thanks, Chair.
Just read, Mr. Clayton, none? Okay. I think this particular application is fairly straightforward. I do note that there's a condition from planning with regard to construction substantially in accordance with a series of elevations and plans. Other than that, I don't believe there are any concerns or conditions.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I can
perhaps
take this one, yes, yes. I think that with the planning conditions, and also I noticed that the rear yard setback is actually existing. So I will, the other two are considered minor. I'm going to suggest to move for approval with the planning condition.
Planning conditions. Thank you, Ms. Chan.
I'll second that,
Mr.
Chair.
Reed, thank
Thanks.
you. All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, we have your approval. It's unanimous. Thank you. And moving on to number 29. Item number 29 is 106 Kenwood Avenue. Purpose of the application is to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a roof pardon me, over the existing front porch and walkout basement. The committee had before it the following communication: copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans and elevations, and 2 photographs of the subject property received January 8th, 2025. This
Through
is
you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item. At this
Thank
time, we'll
you.
unmute Eddie Perez.
Hello, good afternoon, Chairman and committee members. It's Eddie Perez from 537 Rogers Road.
Good afternoon,
you.
Mr. Perez again. Thank you for
Yeah.
being here. You must
No
have
problem. Thank you.
spent the whole day sitting and waiting for us.
That's okay, no problem.
Thank you, though. I think this is a very straightforward application. There's one variance, looks like the front porch of extending the roof for coverage, so the folks downstairs don't get wet. Let me just see if my colleagues have any questions.
Just a quick question, Eddie,
Klein?
is this structure, it looks like the photo you attached to your file implies that the porch is already built?
Yeah, we had gone in for a permit for the top one, then they realized the bottom one needed to go to committee. So that's why he had already started it when it went through the process.
Okay, Sabrina, does this need to be permitted?
But it's all built per code. I checked it all before.
Yeah.
When he had it up, he hadn't put the finishes yet when the inspectors went there.
Yep, no problem. Just wanted, just what we might do, Eddie, is just change the project description to permit rather than to construct.
Yeah, that's good. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clay. I take it that would then be an amendment to the purpose. Any questions, any concerns? No, fairly straightforward. Do we have a motion?
I can bring a motion, Chair, thanks. Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
I think the impacts of adding this additional length of the porch roof are very minor, and we've heard nothing from the neighbors as well. So I think this is supportable, and I move approval of the application with the amended purpose.
Thank you.
So I second
Ms.
it.
Chan,
Yes,
thank you.
yep, yeah.
All those in favor? Thank you. Mr. Perez, you have your approval as amended. Item number 30. Item 30. Item number 30 is 215 Colton Street. Purpose of the application: to alter the existing mixed-use 3-story semi-detached building by constructing a rear 3-story addition with a first-level deck and staircase and a green roof. Also to construct a covered ground floor deck and a walkout basement on the east side wall of the existing building. There will be a total of 2 commercial units and 8 residential dwelling units on this lot. The committee had before it the following communication: copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans and elevations. Revised site plan, floor plans and elevations received February 19th, 2025. Red line public notice, public hearing notice received February 21st, 2025. revised zoning notice received February 21st, 2025, and covering letters from the agent on January 16, 2025 and February 20th, 2025. Email correspondence from the agent received February 19th, 2025. Arborist report and tree protection plan prepared and received January 8th, 2025. We also have staff reports from transportation dated February 19th, 2025, urban forestry report dated February 20th, 2025, heritage report received February 20th, 2025, and community planning report received February 21st, 2025. We also have advisory report from urban forestry received February 20th, 2025. And we also have correspondence in opposition from 374 Berkeley Street received on February 13th, 2025. From
Through you,
Mr.
Mr.
Craddock.
Chair. We do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Thank you. This would be Mr. Barry Goldman.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair, committee members. My name is Barry Goldman. My address is 321 Carlaw, Suite 203.
Thank you, Mr. Goldman. This is item number 30. Bear with me. Too many sheets of paper here. Okay. Are you aware of the number of conditions we have? We have, I believe, there's
yes,
planning,
I
heritage, and transportation, and forestry.
Yes, I am aware of them. I've actually got them on my desk in front of me. I will just begin by saying we worked closely and had multiple meetings with planning, heritage, and forestry. We worked closely with them and were able to modify the design such that all of those parties were prepared to accept our proposal, community planning as well, of course. And yeah, I'm happy to accept the condition. I believe Heritage asked that the building permit be subject to Heritage approval. I think Forestry really just asked, same story, Forestry asked us to make the proposal conditional on Forestry approval. And the Transportation really asked us to set back the rear and cantilever a little bit, which was why there's an amended zoning review. Essentially, we reduced the variances a little bit.
So just a question with regard to any changes with variances. I know we've got a red line notice. Is that in the current?
I expect that it is. If not, it's just a very small reduction in variances 1 and 2.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we've got.
Yeah, there it is. Perfect.
Yeah, I think we need just to correct what we have on what I have on screen, which it's corrected there. Perfect.
Yeah.
So we do have the corrected one, variance 1 and variance 2. Thank you so much. Let me just see if my colleagues have any questions.
So through you, Mr. Chair, sorry, just for public record, we'll have to read it out.
Oh, that's
so
true.
Variance number 1 is being revised to 2.32 times area of lot, 759.87 square meters. And variance number 2 is being revised to 1.97 times the area of the lot at 646.95 square meters. Mr. Goldman, is that correct?
Yes, that is
those
correct.
Those are all the revisions.
Those are the revised variances, reduced, I should say.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much. And let me see if my colleagues have any concerns, any questions, or we move straight into committee for a motion. Mr. Clay?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to move this one. I think this is quite a reasonable proposal. It's situated in the downtown area where and it's an existing sort of mixed-use dwelling or building, and this is just the addition onto it in the rear to add additional residential units. I think it's actually quite a handsome design, I thought, and heritage appears to be okay, although there is a heritage condition, given it looks like it's a heritage building. So I think it's a great proposal. The variances before us are quite minor. I'll move approval subject to forestry condition number 1, transportation conditions, heritage conditions, and the planning conditions. And I was gonna tie it to the site plan, just to bake in the permeable pavers.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
As
Do we have a
amended, thank you, Peter.
seconder? Mr. Reed. Thank you, Mr. Reed. We have the motion on the floor, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Mr. Reed. All those in favor of the amended, thank you. And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Item number 31. 30.
Are you guys here for the last item?
Very last.
So sorry.
Chair, can I request for 5 minutes?
Oh,
Two
sure,
minutes?
of course. The chair? Jim would like a 5-minute break.
Oh, sure. 5 minutes.
Okay.
Let's prolong your agony 5 more minutes.
So it's a 2-minute break, not 5. I'm ready now.
survey site plan, floor plans and elevations. Revised site plan, floor plans and elevations received February 13th, 2025. Red line public hearing notice from CLOVELLY. The agent received February 13th, 2025. Revised zoning notice received February 21st, 2025. 3 photographs of the subject property received February 19th, 2025, and a covering letter from the agent received February 13th, 2025. We also have email correspondence from the assistant planner dated February 19th, 2025.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item. And can everyone just check your microphones, make sure they're on, okay?
Mr. Lowe, are you online?
Yes, I'm here. I just couldn't hear you.
Yeah, you're on.
Sorry.
I was off.
Yeah.
I needed a bright green light, not a dull green light. Thank you. Mr. Lowe, thank you for being there. Let me just see, we don't have anybody in opposition, so there's no need for a presentation for that purpose. Let me see if my colleagues have any questions or concerns. I note there's only one variance. It looks like a fairly straightforward application, but it looks like there's also been a change to variance number 1. Let me just see if my colleagues have any questions or queries. None?
No, just if I think if the applicant could go over the change, that would be great.
Thank you. Mr. Lowe, can you just tell us, it's, from what I can see, it's variance number 1. Sorry, I've got, you've only got one variance, so it's the sole variance that has changed. It looks like the your rear yard soft landscaping has increased.
Correct.
Can you just give us the numbers as you have them?
So previously, we have proposed the soft landscaping to be 22.7%, and we changed it to 30.13%, which equate to 34.2 meters square.
32.4, did you say?
34.2 meters square.
34.2 meters squared.
Still pretty light.
Thank you. That's a nice change. Thank you. Any questions, concerns?
Not for me, Chair.
None? Can we take it into committee and look for a motion? Thank you, Ms. Chan.
The amended agenda, I think this is quite straightforward, and then actually they have improved the variance, so yeah, I move for approval with no conditions. Sorry, yeah, can you please turn on the microphone? Sorry. Do I have to repeat that? Yes. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, this is amended agenda, and then I think the amendment actually improved the variance, so I move for approval with no conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Chan.
I would second that, Chair, and I'd just add, I know that it's still a substantial gap, but from the photos, it appears that these are going to be quite productive green spaces with high-quality plantings, so I think that's also feeds into my support for it.
Thank you, Mr. Reid. Okay, we have a motion on the floor, an amended application. Ms. Chan moved, Mr. Reid seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Mr. Lowe, you have an approval. It's been unanimous. Thank you. Item number 32 was deferred, and we finally. Thank you so much for your patience. We were just about to bring out dinner for you.
You sure you do not need another 5-minute break?
Yeah. I'm just happy to say this. It's nice to come back to a meeting in person. It's been quite a while.
It is. Makes a big difference. Bear with me while I just read through the application. We're now at the last item of the day, and it's item number 33, 5 Bermondsey Road. Purpose of the application is to alter the existing detached building manufacturing use by constructing a one-story addition along a portion of the south side wall for a vehicle depot use and 12 loading docks. The committee had before it the following communication: copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. 7 photographs of the subject property received January 13th, 2025. A covering letter from the agent received December 24th, 2024. And we have 2 decision numbers affecting the subject property. Ontario Municipal Board decision number PL 160356 affecting the subject property. Commenting agency reports, email correspondence from Transportation Engineering dated February the 11th, 2025, and a staff report from the Senior Business Development Officer, Business Growth, Services, Economic Development, and Culture. First time I've seen this one, received on February 21st, 2025.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent here in person, no registered speakers for this item.
Thank you. Mr. Ledowski?
Yes.
Correct. Did I pronounce it correctly? Probably not, but.
No, very good.
Thank you. Let me just see if my
Sir,
colleagues would like to.
address for the record, name and address for the record?
Oh, name and address, yes, I didn't ask. I'm so sorry.
Of course. My name is Adrian Latavsky. I'm the agent here on behalf of the landowner. My company is Johnston Latavsky, and our address is at 235 Lakeshore Road East in Oakville.
Perfect, thank you. Let me just see if my colleagues
Sure, I think it would be
have a
rude
presentation.
to not have a presentation after you've stuck around for so long,
You've
sir.
earned it.
You're perfectly honest. Don't get me wrong, I am more than happy to present the application, but the best applications are those that don't need presentations. So
Yes,
honestly, I'm at your disposal.
It's got a bit of a history to it, so maybe just a quick overview of where you come from and where you are now.
Of course, through you, Mr. Chair. So what this is all about is an expansion to the existing East York Bakery, which is owned and operated by Mondelez in the former East York. The bakery has in fact been there for many, many years. It's been there since the 1950s. It's very much an older legacy building, which frankly the improvements that are on the table here before you will go a long way to solve some of those legacy issues. There was indeed an expansion in 2017. That's one of the decisions that you have before you. This is a further expansion down that will expand the capacity both in terms of warehousing and production. But perhaps most importantly, what it's proposing to do is to, in addition to that building expansion, Mondelez now was able to secure in the last number of years the property immediately south. And perhaps if it's possible while I'm talking to pull up the site plan, that would be very helpful. Thank you. And with that additional property, it's now possible to relocate the loading, which has for many decades fronted onto Cranfield to the west, and has in fact, yes, been an issue. There isn't really enough room there to accommodate the loading today. The cars and trucks do sort of push out into the road right of way. Now, with this expansion, and thank you very much. So just on the left-hand side is Cranfield, and all the loading spaces are there along the existing building's frontage on that side right now today. The idea is with the addition, which you can see in the darker gray color there, is to add new loading facing south and to push all that loading into a far better location, improves accessibility and circulation on site. Another key point here is trailer storage. It is indeed a key part of the operation where they do often need to store the trailers, and this provides dedicated space for that. And so altogether, these improvements are needed on a number of levels. I can tell you from a planning point of view, the property is designated core employment. The uses that we're proposing are all permitted and encouraged by the official plan. This kind of investment is encouraged by the official plan. In terms of zoning, frankly, it's the complexity of the zoning on the site that is driving much of this application. It's a very complex site, and what I mean by that is it's in fact regulated by the old East York bylaw, and only half of the site is regulated by the new 569-2013. So half of the site is
The boundary goes right through the middle?
Right through the middle. The west, the western side of the site is in 569. The eastern half of the site is in the East York bylaw, And by extension, because of a vagary of language in the bylaw, the East York, in fact, still applies to the entire site, so you have overlapping zoning conditions. It's a heck of a job just to figure out what's permitted on the site. And took us quite a bit of work with building department to figure out the variances that we needed, but we did. And so what we're dealing with is, first of all, a question of use. Vehicle depot is what you would call the trailer storage. And it is permitted in 569, but with the proviso it has to be on a property that's separated by 70 meters from a residential zone. And the unique situation of this site is that way over to the east along the O'Connor frontage, it is in fact closer than 70 meters to a residential zone over there, even though the trailer depot is much, much removed. So that's why I put forward here, this variance is entirely appropriate. It still meets the general intent and purposes of that zoning provision. Vehicle depot is also a variance is required under the East York bylaw because it's just simply not a contemplated use in that bylaw. So it's a technical requirement just to explicitly state, yes, indeed, we can do that under that zoning provision. There is requirements under both bylaws that the loading spaces, the loading spaces, are not supposed to face a street frontage. And the idea is that as an intent, the desire is that they be removed from the street, they're kind of hidden around back, but we're faced with a site that has frontage on virtually every side. So it doesn't really matter where we put the loading spaces, they're gonna face some street. And I put to you that this variance is entirely appropriate because the way it's designed is far removed from the street, it's hidden in behind the trailer parking. The general intent and purpose is indeed met. And the last one, call me a glutton for this kind of punishment, but the parking variance is actually kind of funny. It's where because we have the two bylaws in force, they have different parking size requirements. And so we're faced with a situation that to comply with one bylaw means we offend the other. And so we have chosen to comply with the most recent bylaw, 569, but that now offends the East York bylaw, hence we need a variance from that. So the next test is whether or not it's appropriate. I can go through all sorts of the reasons why this is entirely appropriate to allow this kind of investment and expansion and to retain all those jobs. And I'm speaking very quickly, forgive me. But in the minor test as well, I put to you, it's a very minor number of variances that we require, particularly when you consider the benefits that are gathered. And I've talked your ear off. I appreciate the chance to use my time here. And I have, in fact, a letter on file if you really feel the need to review all this in more detail, but it's there for you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Oh, yeah, I have a quick one. It's just for my own education. Forgive me. The first time I actually come up with this HPI holding zone. What is the primary use for this kind of zone?
The primary use for the zone in both bylaws, it's industrial. Sorry, I want to be very accurate here. So it's split zone. Believe it or not, under the East York bylaw, it's split zone. There's two zones. So on the front of the property, it does allow employment uses, but it also encourages more street-facing uses and such as that. In the back, it's more of a heavy industrial zone. Under the new bylaw, it only applies to the back portion, not to the front portion, but manufacturing and warehousing uses exactly what you see here are indeed allowed under both regimes.
That's why I asked, because this first time we come across this.
It's sort of one of these classic examples of how planning sometimes gets in the way of good ideas. Sorry for all you planners in the crowd.
Yeah, but it's a very good answer. I learned something.
Thank you so very much for that presentation. And yeah, it reminds me that with amalgamation, when you're amalgamating, it's always a complicated affair. Different rules, and bringing them all together does make for a very interesting. I am glad though that this particular site is expanding. I've often driven past the bakery and thinking to myself, why don't they open a coffee shop so we can go in and eat and drink?
Yes.
But hasn't happened from what I understand.
You take that back to your client?
Well, to be perfectly, I love this client. We've had the privilege of working with them for a number of years on a number of different sites, and I've always enjoyed working on this site because right across the street is the warehouse store.
No, but you have to go
And you can get
through-
all sorts of cookies and goodies for
No, That's
where you
very
need to
reasonable
stop there.
prices.
I guess-
I've always looked on this,
No,
on the west
coffee,
side.
The coffee shop, I have to go through another zoning review as well.
But I'm also glad that, of course, it generates more employment in that space rather than shunting it out somewhere else. So it's really great. Okay, thank you so much again. I'll take it into committee and
I
see
can
if we have
take
a
the last
motion.
one, yeah, it's sound like I learned something from it, I appreciate the answer. I do not see any, and I think it's a very logical application, and I will suggest to move for approval with no conditions,
Thank
no
you.
revisions, is there?
Thank you,
second that,
Mr.
Chair.
Clay. Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor. Ms. Chan moved to approve. Mr. Clay seconded. All in favor? Thank you. So you have your approval, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much, sir.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll now adjourn. I believe it's 5:43 PM.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sahir.